Joining us now, Matt Boyle. He is the political editor for Breitbart News. He is fired up. Matt, good to have you.
Great to be here.
Matt, okay, so Kavanaugh. Apparently, the White House saying, okay, like we're flipping through this report, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 10, however many pages, and we don't see anything new here. No corroboration, same old, same old. Nobody can verify anything. Any of the witnesses we talk to, no corroborating evidence. Now what happens?
Yeah, look, I'm of the mindset that this is not surprising. I mean, the Senate Judiciary Committee did all the same work that the FBI has already done. So the FBI has retraced the steps of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and lo and behold, found the same thing. There's nothing to the allegations against Judge Kavanaugh. It's all a big sham and a big smear by Democrats as part of a desperation political play walking into the midterm elections. So the fact of the matter is that Judge Kavanaugh is in the clear. It's time to confirm Judge Kavanaugh to the United States Supreme Court. And anybody that votes against him on the Senate floor, whether they're Republican, Democrat, no matter what their view is that they're now showing that they're willing to throw themselves in with this shameful campaign that we've seen led by Chuck Schumer and Dianne Feinstein and Cory Booker and Kamala Harris to use baseless allegations against somebody to destroy their reputation. And again, that's why these midterm elections are so important, because if you vote for any Democrat across the country, you might be the next Judge Kavanaugh. Any person in this country could be that next person that gets their reputation destroyed by the Democrats if the Democrats are cunning enough to gain power. It is extraordinarily important that in every election across this country you vote for Republicans, because the Democrats are so dangerous, and they've demonstrated that. They're literally willing to destroy anyone to achieve the power, to get their objective, and regardless of the veracity of the allegations. Now the FBI's proven it. Senate Judiciary Committee proved it. We had the hearing, right? Everybody got to get heard. It was done. We had the hearing. The Senate investigators demonstrated that there was nothing to the allegations. Now the FBI's demonstrated there's nothing to the allegations. What else do they need? But the Democrats are going to keep destroying this person's reputation. So is the media.
Well, you could script it out, right, Matt? I mean, starting today, they're going to read the document. They're going to say there's not enough information. It's not conclusive. They need another delay, another week, interview more people. They didn't interview this one, that one, this one, the other one, and it's going to go on. But I think McConnell's called their bluff. Now, let's talk about McConnell. Okay, this is just, and I know you're in a little bit of a different position than I am as political editor for Breitbart, but I, for one, have been unbelievably critical of Mitch McConnell for a very long time, as you know. But his performance in the past couple of weeks has been unbelievable. It's like I'm watching somebody I didn't even know existed. He's stood up to these people, and the way he's handling this whole thing has been stellar. The backbone he showed. What's different here?
I've been one of Mitch McConnell's biggest critics over the past several years. In fact, I'm probably one of the only ones that's gone into war against McConnell on the campaign trail and in these major battles, and will live to tell about it, right? Mm-hmm. And some of them you win, some of them you lose. Look, he's a fierce competitor when he's fighting out there. The fact of the matter is that there's many things to criticize McConnell on, and I don't want to get into that today, because you know what? Look, here's the deal: the guy deserves a lot of credit because of what he's doing on this whole Judge Kavanaugh thing. Right. And so, hey, you know what? Welcome to the team, Mitch. We're glad to have you, right? I'm on Team Mitch right now. That's the way I see it, as do many other conservatives. And I think people are very excited. And look, that's the bigger picture here politically is that, and you saw this with Senator Lindsey Graham of all Senate Judiciary Committee when he had that reaction to the way the Democrats were handling. I mean, that was such a huge moment from Senator Graham. He was really explaining how the vast majority of Americans, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, were feeling at the way that the Senate Democrats were handling this sham of a process. But the point is that what's really been going on inside the Republican Party for the last 5 years or so has been this civil war over which way we want to go and how people want to, handle various policy or political things, right? Like there's been a lot of disagreements. Immigration is a really good example of a place where there have been disagreements, and so on and so forth. But the point is that because of how dangerous the Democrats are, what they've done is they've united us, right? Like, I mean, they've done the impossible. They've united the Republican Party. All of us are on the same side. We're working together. That's what this is, because we understand the threat that the Democrats have. That's why it's so important. On November the 6th, you cannot vote for Democrats. You just can't do it. And you have to show up and vote for the Republicans. And what we've seen now is the polls have kind of shifted here. We've now seen Republicans starting to retake advantage in key Senate races, and we've now seen Republicans starting to match the intensity levels of the Democrats, at least in some polls. And that's an important thing walking into those midterms, because again, if the Democrats take the House majority or the Senate majority, if Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer gains power and they get committee gavels, what they're going to do is they're going to do to everybody in the entire Trump administration what they just did to Judge Kavanaugh, without regard for the truth. There will be a massive witch hunt everywhere. There will be thousands of subpoenas that fly into the administration. Every committee in Congress will be put to work as a weapon to destroy people's reputations. And by the way, every American is at risk. Anyone who's listening to this program, you are at risk for what the Democrats might come for you next. They might come for you next if you don't vote. That's why the right to vote is so sacred in this country. You have to get out there and make your voice heard, because what they've done to Judge Kavanaugh, what they've proven they're capable of, and the entire media Democrat complex as well, CNN and all these people, look at what they're doing. They're digging up regular people, right? Like all sorts of regular people are tied into this whole thing too. It's not just Judge Kavanaugh and his family, and I feel really bad for both of them, for Judge Kavanaugh, his wife, his daughters, what they're going through. But not just them. There's all sorts of other regular people that are roped into this thing too, right? Like look at all the people that have wound up at one point or another in the story. If the Democrats gain power, if they take the House majority or if they take the Senate majority, you're at risk. You may become part of the next big smear campaign that the Democrats decide to launch against another Trump administration official or against any ordinary American. And that's the fact of the matter is that that's what's at stake in these midterm elections.
Or against anybody in the media, or against anybody working on a campaign, or against an intern. I mean, they'll go after everybody because, look, they'll have a proven model. Just discredit, blast, dig things up, get somebody that can make an uncorroborated, unsubstantiated claim, and you're done. And then eventually you're going to roll through people. Look at CNN. They've had a number of Trump surrogates on. Every single one of them gets blasted. Somebody will do a story on them, dig something up. They did this. They just did it to Paris Burns the other day, did this, did that. I mean, eventually CNN is not going to have a single person to come on to represent Trump because they just take them out one by one. I mean, it's crazy what is going on.
Is literally the opposition party. The opposition party. I mean, the media are part of the Democrat Party. They're a wing of the Democrat Party. That's what they are. They aren't interested in telling the truth. This whole New York Times story on this whole Tactis thing that we saw is so unremarkable. They demonstrated that President Trump followed the law. It's like he didn't come up with some crazy thing to break the law in Texas or anything like that. They demonstrated that he followed the law. This whole thing that the media, it's just another one thing after another, after another, after another, right? Like it's nonstop. When are they going to report this stuff about what President Trump has actually done for the economy? Anything? I don't think they're going to do that. When are they going to report the stuff on the successes that this administration's having? They aren't interested in doing that. And the reason being is that they're using the power of their media platforms to push their agenda. The difference between them and us, though, is that, and we do the same thing in Breitbart, by the way, right? Like, because we have a point of view. We're very open about it, though. That's the difference between us and CNN or us and the New York Times or the Washington Post. They will lie to you. They claim that they are objective. They are not. They push a certain point of view, and that's fine. They have every right to do that. Okay, they're private companies just like we are. But we are honest with our audience. We tell our audience what point of view we're coming from. They know what they're getting when we're talking to them. And I think the fact that these media companies are lying to their people, to their audiences, is disgusting and despicable. And I think it's the biggest lie in the last 40 years in American media, that they claim to be objective, because no person in this country can be objective. You just can't. Every decision that you make in media, from what headlines you use to who you interview to what stories you cover to which ones you don't, and so on and so forth, all play into everything has the opportunity for the insertion of bias, right? And so every decision you make is informed by your beliefs, and so as you're making these decisions, you should be honest with your audience about what it is that you believe, so that they know what they're getting when they get there. And then you can still tell the truth. You can still have facts and accuracy, right? But the point is that all of these media outlets claim to be objective. They claim to be the sole truth, but they're not. They're coming from a perspective where they're all trying to take down Trump, and that's their choice. They can put forward that point of view as much as they want to. That's their company, right? Like CNN, fine. Your mission is to take out President Trump. Just tell the people that. Just be honest with them.
Honesty is the best policy. So, Matt, these midterms coming up, if Kavanaugh gets confirmed on Saturday, and I think he will, we've just got a new generic poll coming out by Quinnipiac, and it shows that the enthusiasm gap that the Democrats enjoyed plus 16 has been cut to plus 4. We've seen that the generic ballot, congressional House ballot, was Democrats plus 14 3 weeks ago. That's cut in half. It's plus 7. Is there a comeback in the making for Republicans?
Yeah, I think there is. And by the way, there was a Marist poll from NPR and PBS out yesterday that I think it was something like back in the summer, it was the Democrats had a 20-point enthusiasm gap advantage, and now it's statistically tied. It's only a 2-point advantage. So the point is, we're seeing lots of evidence, and we're also seeing it in particular races, right? Like, so in North Dakota, it looks like Heidi Heitkamp isn't coming back to Washington. Okay, there's been now 2 polls. There was one poll the other day that had her down 10 points. There's a poll that came out last night that had her down 12 points to Republican Kevin Cramer. We're seeing in Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn is now pulling away. The latest poll last night from Fox News had Marsha Blackburn pulling 5 points ahead. We're seeing Senate race after Senate race, the Republicans are gaining the lead. Josh Hawley's tied up with Claire McCaskill in Missouri. We're seeing Mike Braun tied with Joe Donnelly in Indiana. We're seeing Matt Rosendale tied with Don Tester in Montana. So if these were, I think what will happen is, and there's plenty of other ones across the country as well. The point is that when Judge Kavanaugh is confirmed to the United States Supreme Court, it's going to, in a way that we haven't seen even in this latest energy on the Republican side, it's going to electrify the nation so much so that all these ties are going to start turning into 5-point Republican leads, right? Like, I think you're going to start seeing the energy on the GOP side just electrified after Judge Kavanaugh gets confirmed. It's going to fire people up, and it's going to deflate the Democrat base.
Matt, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think to get the Trump base fired up, which I am very familiar of because that's the base of my listeners, there's nothing I could have done. There's no big enough rally the president could have had. There's nothing his campaign team could have done to light a match under Trump voters like this Kavanaugh thing did. I mean, so many people just watch this in absolute horror and disbelief. The shenanigans and the clown show that went on in the Democratic Judiciary Committee, I think it's fired people up. And you're right. You know, there's one poll. Before this started, Heitkamp was what? You were saying this. She was like tied or down by 1. It was like
she was only down by like a couple points.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Now she's down 10 to 12.
Yeah,
so.
Every poll she's down by 12. She's done. She isn't going to get reelected. Manchin was way ahead, right? He was up by 12, 15. Now he's up by 3. And Morrissey's going to beat him. I don't care what Manchin does, because Trump voters have been fired up. So they're going to win that. They're going to win North Carolina. They're going to beat Donnelly in Indiana. They're going to beat McCaskill in Missouri. She's going to lose. The astronaut in Florida, he's going to lose. I could see the Republicans, if Kavanaugh wins, Matt, I could see them picking up 5 seats or even 6 in the Senate. 5 or 6.
Yeah, the way the map looks right now, Republicans could come out the other end with anywhere from, I think, 54 to 57 seats in the U.S. Senate, depending on how things go. They've got to hold 4 seats, so they've got to hold Nevada, Arizona, Tennessee, and Texas, and I think they're going to do that.
Yep.
And then I think... And then there's a bunch of other seats that are in play. Like I said, Indiana, Missouri, Montana, West Virginia, Florida, North Dakota, and there's several others on the map as well. In fact, even in New Jersey is in play. We've seen a number of polls in the New Jersey Senate race in the recent weeks. In fact, there was one yesterday that had Menendez, the Democrat, only up 1 point. So the fact is that there's and Ohio's on the map, Michigan, Wisconsin. There's plenty of opportunities for Republicans, and they could, conceivably get into the high 50s if they play their cards right here.
If Kavanaugh gets confirmed Saturday, the Republicans could pick up 6 seats and run the table. I'm never convinced. Look, I'm from New Jersey. I don't believe any of the polls there. Menendez is going to win. The Democrats always win there. But, maybe I'll be shocked. But I think they're going to run the table on everything else, and it's going to be a fun night. But he's got to get confirmed, because if he's not, the opposite happens. If he's not confirmed, everybody that I have talked to on my show says they're going to be really pissed, and it's going to dampen the Trump voter enthusiasm. So there's a lot at stake. Matt Boyle, always good to have you, man, and get your perspective. You can follow Matt. Just go to Breitbart News, and that's the app you want to download. Therefore, every day you can just pop that on. They get all the top stories there, and they have opinion and perspective. Breitbart News, or go to Breitbart.com.